deepest feeling a woman craves is being understood. She wants to feel like someone truly sees her, not just the way she looks, not just the way she talks, but the depths of who she is. See, most men think love happens because they said the right thing at the right time. They think if they crack the perfect joke, if they wear the right outfit, if they show off their accomplishments, then women will fall. But that's surface level. It might create attraction, but it doesn't create love. A woman falls in love when she feels safe enough to be vulnerable, when she can express herself without fear of being judged, when she can open up about her fears, her dreams, her insecurities, and know that the man standing in front of her isn't going to use them against her. She wants to feel like she can be her real self without the need to put on a mask. And this is where most men fail. They listen with their ears, but they don't listen with their hearts. They hear words, but they don't hear emotions. Women don't just communicate with words, they communicate with energy, with tone, with the little things they say in between the lines. If you want to truly connect, you have to hear what's not being said. When she talks about her dreams, does she light up? When she talks about her struggles, does she hesitate, afraid of being a burden? When she laughs, does she look to see if you're laughing too? These are all signs of emotional connection. Signs that tell you what she truly feels deep inside. A woman doesn't just want someone to talk to, she wants someone to share with. Someone who makes her feel like her emotions matter, like her experiences are seen and valued. She wants to be cherished, not just noticed. And the only way that happens is if a man learns how to create a space where she can be open, where she doesn't feel the need to filter her words, where she knows that no matter what she says, she won't be met with criticism, indifference, or rejection. That's why emotional connection is everything. Because love doesn't grow in logic. It grows in feeling. Women don't sit down and create a checklist saying, well, he has this and this, so I guess I love him now. No. Love happens when a man makes her feel something deeper than words. It's in the little things. The way he looks at her like she's the only person in the room. The way he remembers small details she mentioned weeks ago. The way he shows up consistently, not just when it's convenient. And here's the real truth. A woman doesn't just fall in love with a man, she falls in love with how she feels around him. If she feels safe, if she feels seen, if she feels deeply connected, love will follow. But if she feels unheard, unappreciated, unseen, love fades, no matter how attractive, successful, or charming he is. This is why emotional connection outweighs everything else, because no amount of money, no level of physical attraction, no status symbol can replace the way a woman feels when she knows, without a shadow of a doubt, that she is loved not just for how she looks, not just for what she gives, but for who she truly is. There's something undeniable about a man who walks into a room and owns it. Not because he's the loudest, not because he's showing off, but because there's a presence about him, an energy that says, I know who I am. I know what I stand for, and I don't need validation from anyone. That kind of confidence, that's magnetic. That's the kind of energy that draws people in. Especially women, because here's the truth, women are wired to be attracted to strength. Not just physical strength, but inner strength. The kind of strength that says, I can handle whatever life throws at me. The kind of strength that makes a woman feel safe just by being near it. And before anyone confuses strength with arrogance, let's get one thing straight. True confidence has nothing to do with ego. In fact, the loudest guy in the room, the one constantly boasting about what he has, what he's done, or how great he is, that's not confidence. That's insecurity dressed up in a costume. A truly confident man doesn't need to prove himself to anyone. He doesn't need to dominate every conversation. He doesn't need to seek approval or beg for attention. He just is. And that alone makes him irresistible, because a man who is truly secure in himself makes the people around him feel secure too. Women are naturally drawn to men who lead, not in a controlling way, but in a way that shows direction, certainty, and self-assurance. A man who knows his worth, who knows where he's going, who doesn't hesitate in his actions. That's attractive on a biological level. It signals stability, it signals reliability, it signals that he's not just drifting through life waiting for something to happen. He's making things happen. And that's what separates men who attract love from men who chase it. Because a man who is confident in who he is doesn't need love to feel whole. He doesn't need validation to feel worthy. He already knows his value, and that kind of energy is contagious. But strength isn't just about knowing who you are. It's about standing firm even when things get tough. It's about how a man handles challenges, setbacks, and obstacles. A woman is watching not just how a man treats her on a good day, but how he carries himself when things aren't going his way. Does he break down at the first sign of struggle? Does he blame others for his failures? Or does he face adversity with resilience, knowing that no challenge is bigger than his ability to overcome it? Because that's what true strength is. Emotional resilience. The ability to stay grounded even when life is chaotic. The ability to handle stress, uncertainty, and pressure without falling apart. That's the kind of strength a woman can lean on. That's the kind of strength that makes her trust a man, not just in good times, but in all times. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about owning who you are, flaws and all, without apology. It's about walking into a room and not shrinking yourself to fit in, not seeking permission to be yourself, but knowing that you belong, not because someone said so, but because you decided so. And confidence isn't just something you fake, it's something you build. It's forged through experience, through challenges, through failures and victories alike. A man who has been through the fire, who has been tested, who has pushed himself beyond his limits, he carries a different kind of energy. An energy that doesn't just attract women, but commands respect from everyone around him. And here's the thing about confidence. It's felt before it's seen. It's in the way a man carries himself, the way he speaks with certainty, the way he moves through the world with a sense of purpose. It's not about looks, it's not about height, it's not about bank accounts. It's about the way he makes people feel when they're in his presence. A confident man doesn't ask for attention, he draws it naturally. He doesn't chase love, he attracts it effortlessly. He doesn't seek approval, he commands respect without ever having to ask for it. Love isn't built in a day. It doesn't happen in a single moment of passion or through grand gestures that make someone's heart race. Love is built in the day-to-day, in the moments that seem small but hold the deepest meaning. And the one thing that separates a fleeting attraction from a love that lasts? Consistency. Because here's the truth, women don't fall in love with words, they fall in love with patterns. They fall in love with a man who shows up the same way time and time again. Not just when it's easy, not just when he feels like it, not just when the mood is right, but always. See, it's easy to be great for a day. It's easy to say the right things once or twice. It's easy to make a good first impression. But what happens after that? What happens when the initial excitement fades? What happens when life gets busy, stress kicks in, and distractions start pulling at your attention? That is where consistency either builds or destroys the foundation of love. A woman needs to trust what she's feeling. She needs to believe that the man in front of her isn't just putting on an act. And the only way she can trust is if she sees the same energy, the same effort, the same presence every single time. Because love is not built on promises, it's built on patterns of action. A man can say all the right things, he can make her feel special today, he can create magical moments that feel unforgettable, but if his actions don't line up tomorrow, next week, next month, if his energy fluctuates like the weather, then love starts to crumble. Women don't want to fall in love with potential. They want to fall in love with consistency, with a man who follows through, with a man whose words and actions align, with a man who doesn't just show up when it's convenient, but when it matters most. Because inconsistency breeds doubt, and doubt is the enemy of love. When a man is inconsistent, a woman starts to question, was it real? Can I trust this? Is this going to last? And once doubt enters the equation, love starts to feel unsafe. And when a woman feels unsafe emotionally, she starts to pull back, she starts to guard herself, she starts to disconnect. Consistency is about proving day after day that she's not alone in this, that she doesn't have to guess how a man feels, that she doesn't have to wonder if he's still invested, that she doesn't have to chase reassurance, because she already knows. And let's be clear, consistency isn't about perfection. It's not about never making mistakes. It's about showing up even when things aren't perfect. It's about communicating even when it's uncomfortable. It's about being present even when life is pulling you in a million directions. Because love isn't tested in the best moments, it's tested in the worst ones. It's easy to be present when everything is exciting and effortless. But what happens when life gets difficult? What happens when stress kicks in, when challenges arise, when the initial spark settles into something deeper? A woman doesn't fall in love with just who a man is. She falls in love with how he makes her feel over time. If a man is consistent in his kindness, in his effort, in his presence, love deepens. If he is inconsistent, if she has to wonder, if she has to second guess, love erodes. Consistency is the foundation of trust, and trust is the foundation of love. A woman doesn't want a love that fluctuates. She wants a love that builds. And that only happens when a man understands that love isn't just about what happens today, it's about what happens every day after that. There is something deeply captivating about a man who knows where he's going. A man with vision doesn't just wander through life waiting for opportunities to fall into his lap. He creates those opportunities. He charts his course with precision, and he pursues his goals relentlessly. There's a quiet power in this. It's magnetic. It's a kind of energy that doesn't need to scream for attention because it commands it. When a man is driven by purpose, when he wakes up every day with a sense of direction and a goal in mind, it doesn't just affect him, it affects everyone around him. It's infectious. A woman is drawn to a man who has a vision, because vision is the compass that guides his decisions, his actions, his words. It gives him clarity. It gives him focus. And that focus, it's irresistible. A man with purpose knows what he's here for. He's not distracted by every shiny object that comes his way. He doesn't get caught up in the latest trends or the fleeting desires of the moment. He's about the long game. He has a bigger picture, and he's always moving toward it. And when a woman sees this kind of focus, she can't help but be drawn to it. There's a depth to it, a steadiness, a foundation of strength that she knows she can lean on. She sees a man who is committed not just to his goals, but to something bigger. A man with vision doesn't just live day to day, reacting to the world around him. He takes ownership of his life. He's not a passenger in his own journey. He's the driver. And that level of commitment to his own path, it's magnetic. Women don't want to fall for a man who has no direction, no ambition. They want someone who is moving forward, who is relentless in his pursuit of greatness, who can look at the horizon and see possibility even when the road gets tough. But let's talk about purpose for a second. Purpose is deeper than a career goal or an aspiration. It's the why behind everything a man does. It's the belief, the passion, the core values that guide his decisions and shape his actions. A man with purpose doesn't just show up in the world to make money, to gain status, or to pass the time. He shows up because he believes in something greater than himself. He's working toward a cause that fuels him, that keeps him awake at night, that pushes him to be the best version of himself every single day. And that kind of energy is irresistible. A woman can feel that. She can feel the difference between a man who's drifting through life and a man who is driven by purpose. And here's the truth. Women are not drawn to a man who is aimlessly searching for something. They are drawn to a man who already knows who he is and what he wants. They want a man who lives with intention, who doesn't just let life happen to him, but who actively shapes his reality.